5, Modulo Yuji raised Megumi Fushiguro's reincarnation. Megumi Fushiguro was one of the greatest frauds of his generation, a boy born with the 10 Shadows technique and yet died by a Grade 4 curse. Jokes aside, we never got to see what Megumi could have fully become. Megumi died before Modulo began. Nobara brought him up once, and that was it. The prodigy of the Zenin clan, gone. But here's what nobody accounted for. Souls don't just disappear. And Modulo Yuji, the strongest sorcerer in history, was about to have fate knock on his door. A dying woman with a newborn child, and a question Modulo Yuji couldn't answer no matter how many years he had lived. How did she know where to find him? The knock came at 2 a.m. Modulo Yuji felt it before he heard it. He opened the door. A young woman on the ground, a newborn in her arms. The child's cursed energy already present in a way that made no sense for something that small. He looked at the woman. "He told me to find you," she said. Her voice was already fading. "I don't know who he was." Modulo Yuji looked at the child. Felt Megumi's soul underneath the cursed energy. "But he said you'd know what to do." When Modulo Yuji wanted to talk back, she was already gone. He stood in the doorway for a long time, the child in his arms. "Koshiro," Modulo Yuji said. Just the name. The opposite of Fushiguro. The opposite of lurking darkness. The thing Megumi Fushiguro had always carried underneath everything the world did to him and never got to fully show. Koshiro was 3 years old the first time he got between Modulo Yuji and someone he perceived as a threat. It wasn't a sorcerer. It was just a neighbor who knocked on the door too loudly and stood too close when Modulo Yuji answered it. Koshiro pushed his way in front of Modulo Yuji's legs with the serious expression of someone who already felt responsible for protecting him. The neighbor left confused, and Modulo Yuji looked down at Koshiro for a long time. He didn't know whether to be concerned or impressed. It became a pattern. At 5, Koshiro inserted himself between Modulo Yuji and a higher-up who had tracked them down to ask questions. He was standing in the same way he had stood against the neighbor. The higher-up found it difficult to take the conversation seriously. Modulo Yuji found it difficult to explain to Koshiro afterward why that had been unnecessary without also explaining things Koshiro wasn't ready to understand yet. At 9, the 10 Shadows surfaced for the first time. Koshiro was sitting at the table doing homework, and the shadow underneath Koshiro's chair was moving on its own. That was the technique announcing itself. Modulo Yuji felt it from the kitchen before he saw it. He had known this was coming since the moment he felt Megumi's soul in that doorway 9 years ago. The training began the year after, and for the first time in 68 years, Modulo Yuji had to teach someone how to fight with their body. The 10 Shadows required a body that could survive long enough to summon. Shikigami took time, hand signs took time, and in that time the user was extremely vulnerable. So Modulo Yuji did something he had not done in decades. He taught someone how to throw a punch. Again, Modulo Yuji said. Koshiro threw the punch again. Again. Koshiro's knuckles were raw. They had been at this for 3 hours. The same movements, the same correction, the same single word. Your feet, Modulo Yuji said. You're punching with your arm. The power comes from the ground. Through your legs, through your hips. The arm just delivers it. I've been doing it the way you showed me. You've been doing it the way you think I showed you. Those are different things. Koshiro threw the punch again. Something shifted. The weight transferring through his body the way Modulo Yuji had been describing for 3 hours. The punch landing on the pad with a sound it had not made before. Koshiro looked at his own fist. That one. Modulo Yuji said. That is the one. Now do it 10,000 more times. Did you just say 10,000? I counted wrong. 20,000. Modulo Yuji's teaching was not gentle. It was kind, but it was not gentle. There was a difference Koshiro learned slowly across that first year. Kindness was Modulo Yuji making sure Koshiro ate, making sure he slept, making sure that no matter how hard the training got, there was always a meal afterward. Gentleness would have been letting Koshiro stop when it hurts. The reason I'm doing this, Modulo Yuji said one evening after Koshiro had collapsed against the wall too exhausted to summon a single Shikigami, is because someone I knew had your technique. And the thing that nearly killed him was a body that gave out before his technique could save him. Koshiro looked up. The 10 Shadows is one of the most powerful techniques in Jujutsu history. And it means nothing if the body carrying it can't survive long enough to use it. I'm not training your technique. Your technique is fine. I'm training the part of you that has to stay standing long enough for the technique to matter. Koshiro was quiet. Who was he? Koshiro asked. Modulo Yuji looked at him for a long time. Someone who deserved more, he said, and didn't say anything else. The sparring started at the second year. Modulo Yuji didn't hold back the way most teachers held back. He held back the way the strongest sorcerer alive held back, which meant he was operating at a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of his actual capacity, and it was still completely overwhelming. Koshiro lost, constantly, every session, Modulo Yuji moving through Koshiro's defenses like they weren't there. Koshiro got up every time. That was the thing Modulo Yuji noticed early and watched carefully. Koshiro didn't get up because he was stubborn. Koshiro got up because the alternative was disappointing Modulo Yuji. And disappointing Modulo Yuji was the outcome Koshiro's entire being was organized around avoiding. The breakthrough came in the third year. Koshiro stopped trying to fight Modulo Yuji. He understood that there was no chance to win in a close-range combat. So he used the Divine Dogs not to attack but to occupy space. Nue overhead to remove the option of retreating upward. Great Serpent along the ground closing the last direction. He had not gotten faster. He had made the room smaller. Modulo Yuji stopped, looked at the formation Koshiro had built around him, and realized Koshiro's fighting strategy wasn't Megumi's at all. And then the fourth shadow appeared. Koshiro didn't summon it. He didn't perform the hand signs, didn't consciously reach into the 10 shadows. The formation had a gap, one direction still open, and the technique operating on its own logic filled it. A shadow larger than the other three, expanding from the ground, a presence of something ancient, something that had been waiting inside the 10 shadows since the technique first surfaced 3 years ago. Modulo Yuji went completely still, not because of the technique. He had felt Mahoraga before, had felt it from inside Megumi's body while Sukuna used this as a weapon. He went still because Koshiro was standing in the center of the formation completely unaware of what he had just done. Again, Koshiro said. Modulo Yuji had seen the 10 shadows at its worst, had felt what it caused. He never expected to see it again, especially not like this.